Welcome in everyone to the Larsonland podcast. I'm your host, Sawyer Hill, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Dylan Bradshaw. We have a big show for today to talk about Kyle Larson's racing at the Busch Clash, some dirt late model stuff over the past few weeks. But first and foremost, we'd like to thank all of our new subscribers. If you're new to the show, we appreciate you. We're glad you're here. We gained over 300 subscribers over the past week from Dylan's video at Bubba's. Really excited to hit 1,000 subscribers and really prepare for the long season ahead.
Yeah, it was definitely unexpected. It was a goal we set, at the end of the NASCAR season. We wanted to hit 1,000 subs, but it didn't seem like we were getting it. But as you said, Bubba, we got a surprise visit of Bubba in the late model. Threw up an on-location video. It wasn't doing so hot. I think at 8 o'clock, the night I posted, it had like 100 views. Woke up, it had like 8 or 9 thousand. Right now, it's sitting at 17,000 views. So, unreal traction from that. It was trending when you typed in Kyle Larson. So, cool to see. Like Sawyer said, welcome in everyone to our page, and this is the podcast. I don't know if any of the new subscribers have seen it or not, but weekly podcast that we'll post every single week throughout the NASCAR season, and even in the off season when Kyle races, we'll cover it. And then hopefully we have a good amount of on location videos this year. That's something we definitely enjoy. So excited for what 2023 has to bring.
Absolutely. And for all those new subscribers out there, if you're not aware, if you just subscribed on YouTube and you're not following us anywhere else and you're a Kyle Larson fan, definitely make sure to check out all of our social media. We're on pretty much everything: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We have our TikTok now. That's kind of starting to grow a little bit too. But Dylan, let's get right into some of the racing action. We're at the time of us recording this, just about 30 minutes ago, the Busch Clash wrapped up. Man, that one was definitely a tough one to watch for sure. I mean, I think 16 cautions. It was very hard to pass again, like it was last year. I know it's just kind of it's an exhibition race and a little, apparently a one-off thing, but now it's twice. It's 2 years in a row now. Definitely not a race that I look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not. And now the question's being brought up, could this be a points race? Because there's talk about Auto Club in 2024. Obviously, that's getting a repave after this year. So with the Auto Club going away, they're talking about it could be a points race. After seeing tonight's race, I don't think that'd be a very good idea. I mean, it was just nonstop caution after caution after caution. Like you said, 16 cautions. The second half of racing, insane. I mean, it started at like 9:21, I believe. And I mean, it was an hour long. It's 37 and a half miles on a quarter-mile track. It should not be that long. It's ridiculous. And I mean, there was talks of whether or not they should enforce the caution laps counting, just because, I mean, caution after caution, they couldn't even get a lap in. It was unreal. So, not a fan of the Clash at the Coliseum. I mean, the promotion and stuff are cool for it, but I don't like it at all.
Yeah, I have to agree from a, kind of a racing purist standpoint. It's definitely not what you like to see, but definitely seemed like the crowd was a little bit better this year. It seemed like there was a decent amount of fans there, but I don't know. I mean, maybe it's bringing some new fans into the sport, but if everybody's going there just to watch Wiz Khalifa perform or some of the other performers before and during the halftime break of the race, it's like is it are they really going to stick around and be a fan for years to come? I mean, I guess that's to be determined, but definitely like to see the big crowd there. But the race, I mean, if I was there at the race, I probably would have been falling asleep in that second half of it because, man, it was an absolute snoozer. But for Kyle Larson, at least, started 14th in the race and, dropped a spot in the heat race, which set him up to start 14th. He ended up starting third in his heat, finishing fourth, but worked his way up slow and steady throughout the race. Ended up, I think, finishing fifth there at the end. Really, not much to talk about from Kyle Larson's standpoint. I mean, it was just a smooth race. I think there at the end, it did get a little bit rough with Tyler Reddick ramming into the back of everyone, and there were a couple times where Kyle kind of had to hold the wheel really steady and really straight because he did take a couple big shots to the tail end of that car.
Yeah, for sure. And I think as far as the heat race goes, I mean, he was running pretty good, and then the caution came out. It's tough at these small tracks because of the choose rules. So you could be set up for the inside, and the guy in like Lars's situation, he was third. Guy in second, he set up third. He took the inside away from him. So I mean, once you're on the outside of a small track like this, you're pretty much screwed. It's the gap closes quick. There's no room for you to get in. So by the time the gap opens up, you could be losing two, three, four positions. So that's just short track racing. Not much you can do about it. But yeah, like you said, smooth and steady race. Not much to come from it. There was a lot of cautions, as we said before, 16 cautions. So just unreal there. But just the product of racing, poor if they're trying to appeal to a new audience. It's not real exciting. The product of racing is pretty bad. I mean, if I was a new fan, I wouldn't want to sit there through an hour long of just standing there while a pace car just goes around till it runs out of fuel. So, um, but yeah, from Kyle Lars's standpoint, top five finish, fifth place. I think he got a fifth place finish last year. So
Okay.
consistency is key.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if it's really anything to get excited about over a top five finish in the Clash, but I guess
Yeah.
it's a good way to start off the season. It could have been a lot worse, and there were some guys that had not so good days. Kyle Busch was one of those guys that looked like he wasn't going to have that good of a day when he got spun out, I think, in the first half of the race, but he rebounded nicely to finish on the podium. I think he ended up second or third there at the end of the race. So, Kyle Busch looking really good in the RCR car. I know it's just at the Clash, and it's hard to really tell anything. The true test will kind of be over the next couple weeks, but I mean, he kind of came out and looked strong.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, not just Kyle Busch, but RCR in general with Austin Dillon. Bringing him on, this could completely boost Austin Dillon's game. During the offseason when Busch was kind of looking for a ride, Dillon went to Childress. He said, let's bring Kyle Busch on board. So bringing him on board, that could definitely help him out. I mean, Austin Dillon, he finished second, Busch finished third. So, um, both cars in the top three, that just proves that, they could be very strong at the rest of the year.
Yeah, so kind of wrapping up the Clash. I mean, what any other big takeaways from you? I mean, it's just one of those races where it's so hard to really tell anything. I mean, we had like the RFK cars both not making the race again for the second consecutive year. I mean, that kind of translated into the season. I would say last year where they struggled all year. I know Busher did end up picking up a win later on in the season, but those guys had a tough day. It looked like Truex obviously picked up the win. He was fast all night.
Yeah, Truex. I mean, last year he got to the main race through provisional, so different to see him there. Not too much to take away from it. I mean, I was very surprised by Elliott. I mean, he just could not get up there in the pack. He was just in the back all day. His heat race, he just missed it. That was a photo finish with Harvick there. At the end of the heat, missed it by probably 3 inches. So to the last chance qualifier, and he just sat in the back all day. And the other 300 cars, they were up front most of the day. Bowman did very well. Byron and Larson, they were pretty similar, I would say. So, decent day for the Hendrick team, but can't complain too much. As we said, it's not a points race, so can't really harp on it too much. But if it was a points race, then be a lot more upset about it.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for Kyle Larson on his end of things is, we escaped from the Clash without making any enemies. I think a lot of guys made some enemies tonight that necessarily it's really for nothing. It's an exhibition race, but guys are frustrated out there. They're beating and banging on this small little track, and I think Kyle kind of kept it clean. Didn't really get into any weird situations with anybody, and I think that's going to go a long way heading into the regular season, starting at Daytona in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we saw that last year with Justin Haley, that little scuffle with Larson that everyone kind of blew up about. I didn't really think it was too big of a deal, but yeah, that's always good to see. Ton of action tonight. I think the biggest one there at the end with Dylan and Bubba Wallace, that's going to be a big one that people are going to talk about. So only time will tell. Daytona, that's pretty much all luck based. There's not really it's not really in your control there. So maybe we'll see that as we go into the West Coast swing and the season progresses.
And we're gonna be there at Daytona. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But before we get to that, let's kind of jump back. We haven't had a podcast in a couple weeks, but last time we talked, I know we kind of discussed we didn't think Kyle Larson was gonna run any dirt late model stuff during Florida Georgia Speed Weeks, but Dylan, I was going down to Golden Isle a couple weeks ago on that Friday night or that Friday morning. I landed in Jacksonville and I checked my phone. Jacqueline Rumley tweets a picture of the six car unloaded at the Golden Isles Speedway. I wasn't expecting him to be there at all. It was a nice surprise, and Kyle showed up on that Friday night and was really on his stuff. One of the best races I think I've ever seen. We finally broke the Larsonland curse, at least on my end of things. I finally got to see Kyle win in person after what feels like so many races. I mean, we've been to some together where it's just felt like he's gonna win it, and then it just something stupid happens, it slips away. But I was glad to at least break the curse on my end. That race, just kind of talking about it a little bit. Kyle was extremely patient in it. I mean, he ran Golden Isle last year. I was there for those races too, and some of those or two of those, I think he kind of jumped out to a lead early and was in the opposite position of what he was this year. Where this year he was kind of the guy doing the hunting a little bit. The main battle was between him and Ricky Thornton Jr. and Brandon Overton, and Kyle just put together an awesome race and made the right moves at the right time, and ultimately took the lead with two to go and picked up the win there at Golden Isle.
Yeah, a little jealous about it. I mean, I wish I could have made it up. I was planning to go the next day, but you called me about 40 minutes before hot laps. You said you talked to the crew and he wasn't going to be there, so kind of bummed about that because I mean, there's only so many chances you can get seeing him in the late model, especially in your area. So pretty bummed about that, especially when it's not the win. But with the way my luck is, he probably wouldn't have won if I was there. I've been to two of his late model races. I went to Alltech in April last year and Bubba last week, and he went through the B main both times. He wrecked in both features. Um, so hopefully the curse, breaks this year when I attend some races. But yeah, Bubba was a great time, as I said in the beginning. On location video did very well despite the 28th place finish. Got caught up in a ton of traffic, caused a wreck on the first lap. So disappointing there. Car got absolutely destroyed. You can see that in the on location video if you haven't. But um, as far as late model racing goes, hopefully he runs Volusia in some capacity. We're going to try to make it out the night before Daytona to Volusia for the World of Outlaws late model. So hopefully he shows up there and we can see his show.
Yeah, I mean, and if anybody else is down there at Volusia or at the Daytona 500 and wants to meet up, always just shoot us a message. I mean, we love talking to everybody about Kyle Larson and just racing in general. We always have a good time talking to people. And speaking of that, I mean, down there at Golden Isle and we had a good time. Catching up with Derek Kessinger of Flow Racing and Dirt on Dirt, friend of the show. If you haven't watched that episode of the podcast, we had an episode with him last summer talking about the Prairie Dirt Classic and some stuff like that. But it was really nice to catch up with him, some of the Rumley Six crew, and even talking to Kyle a little bit during the race nights and after the race. It was especially nice to talk to Kyle after the win for me, but for you, Dylan, I don't really think Kyle was in a talking mood after the race at Bubba's.
Yeah, I hung around maybe seeing if he would come out, but like I said, he wrecked lap one. I think he just kind of stayed in the hauler for the night. There was a huge crowd around, kind of waiting around, but tough night for him. Don't expect him to really come out and interact, but man, just sucks. I really want to see a win in person. Speed Week last year in Pennsylvania, we thought we were going to see some sprint car wins. He was in second at Lincoln and Hagerstown, and then right at the end, Brent Marks scooped up the win, two P2s. It's just tough, man. I need to see a win. Hopefully on February 19th, man. Hopefully that one is a win.
If he's there, if he comes and shows up
Well,
and runs. Oh, you mean at Daytona?
19th Daytona, yeah.
Okay,
I'd much rather have the Daytona win over a Volusia
over the
win.
Volusia, yeah, correct,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm right with you there. But kind of wrapping up stuff about the the late model side of things. I mean, just talking a little bit about the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series. I mean, I think based on the two nights at Golden Isle I was attending, and then the night that you were at Bubba's, I think this year is going to be an awesome year for that series. I mean, you have Jonathan Davenport back on the tour full time. You got Ricky Thornton Jr., who's already picked up a couple of wins. Tim McCready, obviously the two-time and defending series champion. Hudson O'Neal in the Rocket House car. Devin Moran in the 99, and possibly Brandon Overton too, running full time. I know he hasn't made his decision yet. Had a kind of a tough night there at Alltech on Saturday night, but man, this series is going to be awesome. And I was a little bit skeptical of the playoff format that they're switching to towards the end of the season, but that last race at Eldora, the Dirt Track World Championship, is going to be a good one if we get all of these guys sticking on full time.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Longhorn absolutely on top. They have like
Yeah,
13 or 14 wins this year. I think like 80 something top tens, almost 50 top five. So Longhorn's definitely on top. I think the only other manufacturers that finish top five are Rocky, Black Diamond, and Sniper. So Longhorn on top. They're definitely proven to be the top of their game and just improving as time goes on. So yeah, exciting stuff with that series. I'm definitely excited to see how that plays out. Some strong guys, big guys like Overton, Davenport, Ricky Thornton. Like you said, he's just been unreal. He kind of threw away some wins during Speed Week, but he came back and grabbed himself some. So yeah, man, just excited for the year.
absolutely. I mean, there's so much good stuff going on in all of racing this year. It's really awesome to see. And late model racing's flourishing. Sprint car racing is got a lot of cool stuff happening this year. And then NASCAR as well. I mean, we're going to be following all of it here on the channel. But kind of in some other news this week, Kyle Larson announced that the Kyle Larson Late Model Challenge, the Thursday night before the Bristol Dirt Race weekend there at the Volunteer Speedway, is making a return for the second straight year. Dylan, I know we were there was talks about this one last year, like after the race, saying like, oh, Volunteer Speedway kind of like didn't make out good after the race and everything. Were you surprised to see this announced again for the second straight year?
Yeah, I was definitely surprised. I mean, the time was kind of running out. I think if they were going to announce it, it would have been announced, towards the end of last year. But it's cool to see. I really do hope it kind of turns into something like Prelude to the Dream. I was watching old clips of that last week, and it was just such a cool event seeing all the NASCAR guys kind of compete in it. So it'd be cool to get your mix of your top late model drivers and maybe a few NASCAR drivers dip their toe in the water. We saw Byron last year in the event, but I don't think he finished the event. I'm not too sure about that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know he did take a provisional to get into the race, a promoter's choice. I think that Kyle put him in the show, but I'm not sure if he finished the race or not. But I would like to see some more guys give it a shot this year. I mean, we've seen Kyle Busch run a lot of dirt stuff. I know he's ran a late model before. I think he did it on the Bristol Dirt 2 years ago. And just some different guys that they could be out there. I know some NASCAR teams aren't allowing their guys to run dirt. I mean, that's kind of been a big story this week with Christopher Bell not allowed to run any dirt this year. Kind of interesting there with Coy Gibbs passing away at the end of last year. Apparently, he was kind of the link for Christopher Bell to be able to run some dirt stuff, and now this year apparently Seabell's not going to be able to run anything at all.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like you just said, he Bell explained that Coy was kind of the vessel for dirt racing because Joe Gibbs, he said he has a almost hatred for dirt track racing and open wheel racing. So that's going to be crazy how that pans out. He said he loves running the Chili Bowl. I think this might have been the first year he hasn't ran the Chili Bowl. So wonder how that'll play out. There's been some drama about that, whether or not that decision could make him leave Gibbs. Only time will tell on that one. But yeah, it's just crazy, especially after the 2021 season. We saw how many races Larson ran and how he dominated in the Cup Series, dominated in the dirt, and just how that kind of translates to your success in the Cup Series. And these owners just don't want to see their guys run dirt, and it's crazy because you don't have the practice that these teams used to have years ago. You're kind of just hopping in like Daytona. You don't have practice. They're just sending you out there. You qualify, then you have duels, then you have the race. So it definitely helps them hone their skills a little bit more. I think it keeps them sharp, ready for race day on Sunday. So yeah, not too sure why these teams aren't letting their drivers race.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a head scratcher for me too, and kind of shifting away from that into Daytona. I mean, you talked about it, the way the format kind of is laid out this year with qualifying, then the duels, and then the two practice sessions. It just seems a little bit strange. I mean, I know we've kind of shifted this thing on super speedways now where we don't run any practice at all. We just straight qualify the cars. But if they're going to have the 2 practice sessions, wouldn't you think maybe one of them would come before qualifying or come before the duels? It just a little bit weird there. But we're going to be down there at Daytona and Volusia that night before. Dylan, what do you think you're looking forward to the most, and what are some storylines that you're following heading into Daytona?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm excited for the 500. It's over 100,000 fans, just a huge event. But I'll be at the Clash, so that's one I'll be looking forward to.
Or the
I doubt
duels?
it's gonna. Or yeah, sorry, duels. My bad. Wish the Clash was still at Daytona, but yeah, I'll be at the duels. That'll be exciting. Probably won't be too packed, so it'll be nice in the infield, kind of going around checking everything out. We'll have on location videos, of course. Hopefully, a dual one Volusia if Kyle runs it, and then Daytona 500. So. I'm excited for that. I hope we can see a Chevy finish strong in the 500. They're always the strongest in single car qualifying. We always see a Toyota or a Ford finish. Would love to see a Chevy win it this year,
Yep.
preferably that 5 car. So that's only time will tell on that one. So just really excited. Time can't come any sooner. It's been a long time since a NASCAR race. We went to Dover, so that'll really be exciting, and it'll be especially different because we'll be on the infield with some hot passes this time. So cool to see.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to be in the pits there at Daytona. I've never been to Daytona before. This can be or I've been there not for a race, but really can't wait to get down there and kind of get the season officially started off. I know we've had a couple races and Kyle's already picked up his first win, but sounds like a good time for win number 2 there at the Daytona 500. So I think that's pretty much everything we have for today's show. Again, thanks to all the new subscribers for joining the Larsonland family. We have a tight knit group, a lot of people we talk to all the time, and never feel afraid to just shoot us a message, leave a comment. We're always answering questions from people, anything that they have. So thanks again, everyone, for listening to the show. We're probably going to take the next week off and then be back again after Daytona to recap the Daytona 500 and if Kyle races any dirt stuff at Volusia. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please follow this podcast so you do not miss a thing. We will see you in the next video.